All right. And so, welcome to our third part of Unit 5. And for this um, segment, we're going to talk about the third work in our list. This is The Indolence of the Filipinos, Sobre la Indolencia de los Filipinos, written in 1890. So, unlike annotation of successos in the two novels, The Indolence of the Filipinos is actually a political essay. Yan. So, uh, kung sa annotation, meron siyang gustong i-assert pa, meron siyang gustong ipamulat, no? It's more of like questioning. Then sa Noli and Elfili, medyo nag-test the water siya, no? In trying to compare real life situations to made up scenarios, no? Using his characters and the universe that he created. Dito sa The Indolence of the Filipinos, he was directly addressing the matter of discrimination, no? And false perception ng mga Spaniards sa Filipinos. So our objectives are analyze Rizal's claims and counterclaims on the prevailing notion that the Filipinos were indolent, examine his points and methods as he draws ideas from earlier accounts of the Philippines, highlight his suggestions which would address the conditions of the Philippines during his time. So let's begin. So the quote I took to represent this article is this. What causes operated to awake this terrible predisposition from its lethargy? How is it that the Filipino people, so fond of its customs as to board their own routine, has given up its ancient habits of work, of trade, of navigation, etc., even to the extent of completely forgetting its past? Diba? So dito ang tapang ng tanong niya, no? If if tamad nga talaga kami, no? Bakit kami naging tamad? No, ganun yung question niya, no? So the article is aptly titled The Indolence of the Filipinos because Rizal was trying to address that problem. The problem with that perception of Spaniards towards Filipinos. For the longest time, we've been branded as lazy people, no, good for nothing, tamad. Hilig kasi natin mag-siesta, hilig natin mag-rest, we lack motivation, no? So dito Rizal showed the extent of his knowledge by looking at the historical origins, no? And syempre yung mga philosophical um, approaches niya, no? Kumbaga, logically, bakit nga ba mangyayari itong mga bagay na to? What happened? So, this article is a socio-political essay na part ng La Solidaridad, no? Noong 1890. Meron siyang 5 installments. So, hindi siya sinulat isang bagsak. Nandun na kagad sa Lasol, no? So, parang parang series of editorials ito. So, ito ay sinulat niya at inilathala sa nasabing pahayagan from July 15 to September 15 of 1890. And so, sunod-sunod yun, no? July 15, 31, bi-monthly kasi. Then August 1 and 31, then September 1. So it mainly contains the exploratory and argumentative claims of Rizal against the Spanish notion of the Indio-indolence. No? Tamad nga ba talaga tayo? And ginawan ito ng novel ni Syed Hussein Alatas, no? Noong 1977 at pinamagatan niyang The Myth of the Lazy Native. So naging inspiration niya itong political essay na to. So, what are the main points dito sa article? Kasi, of course, we're not going to read the entire thing during this lecture. The first set of points is that indolence exists. Rizal was brave enough to accept and embrace and recognize na may katamaran talaga yung mga Pilipino. And as a doctor, he sees indolence as a disease, a malady, no? Condition. And to know why this condition exists, you must know the reason behind it. no? So, isang justification ni Rizal, ang init kasi dito, 'di ba? Yung yung effort ng isang Pilipino na nasa isang mainit na lugar ay doble, no? Kumpara sa kanyang counterparts na magsasaka sa mga nasa temperate climates, no? Hindi naman sa in-invalidate niya yung struggle ng mga nandun, but being in a very hot country and you have to stay for hours just to plant things, no? Crops, 'di ba? Kumpara sa mga counterpart mo na hindi naman ganoon kainit yung weather nila, mas lugi ka, no? And si Rizal, binigyan naman niya ng ng clause na pwede naman mag-adapt yung Pilipino eh. Kahit anong climate yan, kaya mo mag-adapt. So, he's not totally uh, dismissing yung mga nasa temperate zones na farmers. So, kung ganun, bakit may indolence? Kasi nga po, it's a chronic illness. So, there should be a proper and appropriate treatment, and that you should look into what was the condition before the disease infected or started spreading on someone's body. Sinabi ni Rizal na nakakapagtaka kasi may indolence ngayon, pero dati naman, no, when the Spaniards were not around, a lot of Filipinos were already trading with their neighbors, no? So, paano natin masasabing tamad na sila by nature kung dati pa lang ang sipag na nila makipagkalakalan? The third point Rizal made is that instability is the major reason as to why Filipinos become so hopeless in farming. Unstable no? Nakaranas sila ng violence, maltreatment sa mga Kastila, lagi silang inaagawan ng goods, resources, nalagay sila sa mga living patterns na hindi nila nakasanayan, lagi silang naiipit sa mga gera, expedition, invasions, and this created this culture of not trusting anyone, no? Among Filipinos. Marami rin nahiwalay sa mga kapamilya dahil sa forced labor, and yung pagka-degrade ng values dahil sa pagpapakilala ng sugal. So these were the points Rizal were making, no? And with all of these things, it led to the death of trade and commerce. So yung mga Kastila, they get the best of the best, no, kasi may monopoly, may discrimination sa mga native, abusive yung practices ng mga enkomendero, they were not really totally taken care of, no? And there's a lack of support and motivation from the government. Kasi class, imaginein mo, ang init ng weather, kailangan mo magsaka, pero mapapatanong ka, bakit kailangan ko magsaka? Itong makukuha ko, mapupunta lang to sa praile, mapupunta lang to sa enkomendero, mapupunta lang to dito sa landlord ko. I wouldn't even earn a lot from this. So, ba't ako sisipagin? Diba? Yun yung problema, no? There's no motivation. Parang there's no sense in doing this because you all know what's going to happen at the end. Okay? Pero may isa pang pinaka pininpoint sa Rizal. And that's the problem of the lack of training and education. No? Indolence is not something just, people voluntarily decide to become. They don't wake up one day and say to themselves, I'll be lazy today. No. Okay? They were inherently industrious, diligent, hardworking, pero pinatay yung kasipagan na yon ng mga nangyayari sa kanila. Ng colonialism. No? Idagdag pa natin dito yung pag-prevent sa kanila for growth, no? Dahil hindi sila nabigyan ng magandang edukasyon, ng training. So, they are victims of the system. They will just stay in a particular socioeconomic status because they don't have the ways and means to go up. So, dagdag pa dito, since uninformed sila, it propagates what Spain wants. No? And that is not to unite the Filipinos, because if you unite the Filipinos, they will know the common enemy and revolution will become inevitable. And that is something that Spain has always tried to avoid ever since. So are we lazy? We're not. Ito yung matapang na words ni Rizal. It is the Spaniard who is lazy, argued Rizal, as they detest manual labor and live surrounded by Filipino servants who not only exist to take off their shoes for them, but even to fan them. His analysis as a physician and historian led to primary sources that prove Filipinos in pre-Spanish times were not so indolent. In the Philippines is a chronic malady, but not a hereditary one. The Filipinos have not always been what they are. Rizal knew tamad ang mga Pilipino, pero he also justified why. And that they were not like that before, so meaning it was not the Filipinos who caused or who brought this no problem. It was the Spaniards themselves. Sila ang indolent, hindi ang mga Pilipino. Kayo, no? I want you to answer this. Are the Filipinos naturally lazy? Let's analyze these pictures. When you look at the status of the Philippines during the pre-colonial times, no, money was not even existent. It was a matter of barter, a matter of trust. They will just leave their products at the shore. Um, you know, um, the foreign trade partners will just simply take it, 'di ba? Parang pick up lang. Hindi kailangan ng pagbabantay kasi may tiwala sila sa isa't isa, no? So, the mere fact na buhay yung commerce and that we're already trading with a lot of our neighbors back then, it goes to show that these neighbors will not come to our shores if we were not good business people. Okay? And even during colonial times, di ba? Kahit sabihin natin na nagkaroon ng culture ng katamaran ng mga Pilipino, hindi yun naging ganap kasi regardless, no, naging hardworking, resilient, talagang ginawa pa rin nila yung trabaho nila. Of course, with less motivation nga lang. So, are we lazy? I think not. And that ends Article 3. No? So, wrapping it up, definitely dito makikita natin si Rizal bilang isang matapang na radikal. Ayan. Ginagamit niya yung kanyang knowledge on anthropology, history, sociology to debunk a claim. And that is very scholarly. Most likely dahil din sa critic sa kanya ni Blumentritt, no, doon sa kanyang annotation. So, kahit political essay itong Indolence, mas naging academic yung approach ni Rizal. So, we're now down to our no? Fourth and last, second to the last lecture. And this time we're going to talk about Philippines a century hence. Filipinas dentro de 100 años. See you on the fourth video.